Okay, imagine this. Your skills with, say, Microsoft Fabric, maybe it's SQL warehouses. That could actually be your pathway into a really high-impact finance career.
It sounds a bit surprising, maybe, connecting that kind of tech with traditional finance.
Exactly. But that's what we're diving into today, especially if you're a data professional looking for roles that, really matter, or a leader trying to build out those future-ready risk and compliance teams.
And it makes sense when you look at the situation. Finance is just drowning in data, isn't it? Trades, transactions, customer behavior, market feeds. It's overwhelming.
Uh-huh. And at the same time, you've got this increasing pressure from regulations, SOX, GDPR, AML, the list goes on.
Right. So firms are trying to innovate, use all this data, but
Mhm.
they have to stay compliant. It's a real balancing act.
And that's where platforms like Microsoft Azure, Synapse, and now Fabric are becoming absolutely critical.
They really are. It's not just about having the tools, it's about having this whole ecosystem to manage data, run analytics, and, crucially, do it securely and in a way that meets regulatory demands.
Which, like you said, opens up some fascinating career doors. We're seeing a real need for data folks who get Azure and understand the finance context.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Let's maybe break down some of those roles. Take risk data scientists, for example, or sometimes they're called quants.
Okay, what are they doing with these tools?
Well, they're often using things like Spark pools, maybe within Fabric, because they need to crunch just enormous amounts of data, think terabytes easily.
Right, for building complex models.
Exactly. Sophisticated machine learning models.
Yeah.
And these aren't just, theoretical. They're being used right now to assess credit risk, detect potential fraud almost instantly.
So very direct impact on the business's health.
Absolutely. Protecting the institution, protecting customers. It's high stakes.
And underpinning all that complex modeling, you need solid data pipelines, right?
You do. And that's where the risk data engineer comes in. They're sort of the architects behind the scenes.
Using tools like Synapse pipelines or Data Factory, I assume.
Precisely. Their job is to build and maintain these super reliable, secure data flows. They ensure the data feeding those critical risk models is clean, timely, and trustworthy.
Because without that foundation.
The models are useless or worse, misleading. So that Azure expertise in data engineering, absolutely vital.
Okay, so we've got modelers and engineers. What about the regulatory side? How does data help there?
Good point. That brings us to the RegTech analysts, regulatory technology.
Right.
They're the ones often using tools like, say, SQL pools in Synapse or Fabric, combined with Power BI for visualization.
To do what exactly? Translate the complex data.
Pretty much. They transform all this intricate financial data into reports that are clear, understandable, and crucially auditable for the regulators.
So demonstrating compliance, like showing who accessed what data for GDPR, maybe?
Exactly that kind of thing. Or proving capital adequacy, or tracing transactions for anti-money laundering investigations. They turn data into regulatory proof points. Transparency.
Makes sense. But with all this sensitive data flowing around risk models, regulatory reports, someone needs to govern it, surely.
Oh, absolutely. That role is becoming increasingly important, the data governance specialists.
Okay.
They're often leveraging tools like Microsoft Purview. Their focus is on the how. How is data classified? What are the policies around its access and usage? How do we ensure it meets privacy standards and internal rules?
So they're ensuring the data isn't just useful, but also handled properly, compliantly.
Exactly. They're building that essential foundation of trust in the data itself, making sure it's fit for purpose, secure, and governed according to all rules, both internal and external.
So if you're listening and you've got skills in Azure, Synapse, Power BI, maybe Fabric, getting even a basic understanding of finance terms, risk management concepts, AML regulations, that could really set you apart.
It's a huge advantage. Being able to talk the language of finance, even a little, and demonstrate how your Azure skills can solve their specific regulated problems, that makes you incredibly valuable.
Yeah, showing you can work with sensitive data in a secure, compliant way is key.
Definitely.
And for the leaders listening, the takeaway seems clear. When building these data teams, you really need that blend. Deep Azure tech skills are essential, but combine that with some understanding of the financial and regulatory context.
That's the sweet spot. And, there are firms out there like Curate Partners, for instance, that actually specialize in finding people with exactly that kind of niche hybrid skill set.
Because ultimately, what's it all about in finance?
Trust. It always comes back to trust.
Right. And in today's digital world, that trust is increasingly built on data that's secure, well-governed, and capable of providing real insights.
Couldn't agree more. The technology enables it, but the governance and the smart application build the trust.
We've covered a lot of ground on these roles. If you want to dig even deeper, see some more specific examples of how these Azure tools are used. We've linked to a blog post that goes into more detail.
Yeah, definitely check that out. And of course, if you found this deep dive helpful, please do subscribe, follow, share it around. We'll be exploring more topics like this.
And maybe just a final thought to leave you with. Consider how this constant evolution of data capabilities and AI, how is that going to continue reshaping what trust even means in finance and what new innovations become possible because of it? It's definitely something worth thinking about.